Well, that's a bit of a hard act to follow. I'll try to be as flamboyant and in your face as I possibly can. Anyone who is joining us more recently from the webcast, I want to welcome you as well to our day celebrating the data platform work we're doing here at Microsoft. I'm going to spend time now helping us get grounded in what the products are really doing. So we have a few demos teed up to help you see the products that we've been talking about this morning in action, and touring back through that whole data platform. Deriving from that ambient intelligence, we have a discussion around the data culture. We also have this opportunity to realize a data dividend, and a complete data platform is what's required to get us there. The data itself, from collecting and managing the analytics to bringing it together, mashing data sets together, processing the data, refining it, purifying it, and really trying to find where the intelligence in the data lies, and then ensuring that the data and the intelligence finds its way not just into BI experiences, but into applications and into business process. So there really is this whole virtuous cycle that gets stood up around a complete data platform. And uniquely, we've been pursuing this at Microsoft as an end-to-end capability. As we go through this, I really want to talk about three sort of accelerants, right? Three things that are unique about what we're doing that help us accelerate how customers realize those data dividends, or how we help customers accelerate their way to a data culture. Those things are in-memory speed across the platform, the cloud as part of your platform, and a data culture that's within reach of everyone. So we'll get started on in-memory. The in-memory work is really important because it is the thing that powers not just scale and not just performance, but opens up new scenarios. We've been on this major journey on in-memory now for a number of years. It started when we did in-memory work for Excel. Power Pivot and the visualization, it's in Power View and Power Map, are actually rooted in-memory technology that lets us scale Excel to millions of records and allows people to interact with that data at the speed of thought. Right? It's not a query response batch process. It allows them to bring in diverse data sets, manipulate them and manage them, and see them and perceive them at the speed of how they're thinking about it. We took that same work and we brought it into an analysis services in SQL Server, where we can take models that end users have built and then put them in a professionally managed IT environment and scale it to literally tens of billions of records. And we have customers that are running many terabyte scale systems and analytics that are part of their business process because of the capabilities that are in memory in Analysis Server. And the other piece we've done is in data warehousing. So another majorly important aspect of decision support is a data warehousing solution. And here too, in a previous release of SQL Server, we began the journey to take the same kind of data structures and algorithms that are optimized for those scans and data warehousing kinds of workloads and built them into our relational database solution, the RDBMS in SQL Server. Here, customers were able to get hundredfold, tens and hundredfold increases in query performance right out of the box. In fact, we have customers who are upgrading to SQL Server, converting to SQL Server, and then enabling the columnar index underneath existing ERP packaged applications and seeing these tremendous performance gains, dozens of times fold, 100 times fold performance gains in the data warehousing aspects of those solutions. So we had the end-to-end system between the end user and the analytics and data warehousing. We had that at scale, both in SQL Server and in parallel data warehouse. In SQL Server 2014, we're introducing in-memory transaction processing. Both Satya and Kevin mentioned how we're seeing 30x fold performance as customers start to take advantage of the new infrastructure we've built as part of the RDBMS. These are new lock-free data structures and new algorithms that help us accelerate the kinds of transaction performance that's possible, and not just in terms of overall concurrency and throughput, but also in terms of latency. And this is important because it also unlocks a whole new set of scenarios for how a database can potentially be used. As we completed that work, we also went back and made sure that the columnar work that we did for data warehousing the RDBMS was also able to be the primary store, what we call cluster and column index, so that you also get a compression benefit, so space savings and storage, out of using the data warehousing capabilities in the RDBMS. So with these pieces done, we now have this end-to-end platform across all the workloads for in-memory. We're really the first ones to provide that, and we have customers who have been retooling to take advantage of that because it's a capability that's right there, right out of the box. So to show the product and get started on the demos, we have a typical sort of fictional company that's in the retail space we call Fabricam. We have a 3-arc demo talking about different roles that people play at that company and how they're getting advantage from the work that we're doing across the entirety of the data platform to move the business forward. The first arc is really about the in-memory work we're doing. I'd like to welcome Julie Strauss, who works with me in Redmond, to come up and show us everything about it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I am the IT professional at Fabricam, this multi-purpose retailer. And as you can see, we have this web presence, but in addition to that, we have many local stores throughout the country. And this combination of stores gives us the opportunity to provide a fully personalized shopping experience spanning what customers buy online and what they buy in our stores. The challenge, however, for me as an IT professional is, as you might have guessed, database performance. We've now brought all these transactions from brick and mortar and the website into a single OLTP system.
So the business had a directive to integrate these systems to provide a better customer experience. And as the IT person, your challenge is, okay, well, that's now one integrated system. How do we make sure that we have the headroom and the absolute performance to get there?
Yeah. So my first challenge is really to make sure that the system can handle this increased number of concurrent users. Second, my challenge is to make sure that I provide a personalized yet snappy shopping experience. Otherwise, our customers are going to leave. So let's take a look and see how the in-memory capabilities of SQL Server 2014 delivers this crazy fast performance. Okay? So this is my online storefront. It's a test framework. It simulates how our customers are going to interact with the system. But you see I have these fabulous yellow buckets on there. And it's just to call out through the demo the performance counters that we're interested in monitoring and improving. So let me go ahead. I will take a look and just kind of simulate a purchase. So I'll go and pick from my bestseller list. And I will pick these apparently super popular granola bars. You see the image come up instantly, which is good. However, without the system being memory optimized, the recommendation list, which is really what is going to cause more sales for me, takes nearly 7 seconds to come up.
So the recommendation list is personalized for this particular customer. But it's a complex store procedure that does this very wide query across a bunch of things to figure out what to recommend.
Yeah, so it's looking at more than 400 different criteria to make sure we know exactly which products to place for which customers at which time. So that's really not 7 seconds. It just feels tedious. So we want to improve that. But let me go ahead first and do the actual purchase. 1, 2, 3. 3 seconds. In an online world, that just feels like an eternity. So let's have a look at how we can improve this. So over here, the first dial represents the number of concurrent users that my current system without memory optimization can handle. And it's a little less than 1,000 purchases. It's nothing. So I need to change that. Traditionally, what I would do is go and throw more hardware at this and scale out the back end to handle more users. With SQL Server 2014, I can simply memory optimize the table. Great. The question is, which table? Well, built right into SQL Server, we have a neat little tool that will allow me to, based on the workload that I just ran, to go ahead and analyze which are the target table for me. So you see up here in the corner, I have the purchase table standing out as my target. And it's really looking at what will I actually gain and what is the work it requires to do the migration.
So this is a tool just built into the tools that come with SQL Server to help you understand what gains you're going to get and how easy it is to convert. Some things will convert just by configuration.
Yeah, luckily for me, this is one of them. What a coincidence. So I'll go ahead and just go back to my dashboard and memory optimize this particular table. So you see the query is running. And what is really happening here is you'll see instantly I get more than a 20 times performance improvement. Come on, people. That's pretty good. There you go. So I think that counts for me addressing my challenge number 1. And we'll come back and see what that feels like in the application. So let's move on to my second challenge, which was a snappy shopping experience. And the 7 seconds apparently wasn't really that snappy. So I'll go back here and transform this stored procedure that we talked about before. And it's just a single quick click, and we'll do this configuration change in the database. What is happening with the stored procedure is we're simply compiling to native code. This really allows, running native code allows us to access those memory-optimized table and get some performance gain. And here you see 8 times, 7 times, 8 times performance gain. That's pretty good.
Part of the technical work we did when we approached this in-memory transaction processing architecture was ensure that the code that's run to do the query work does not also get in the way of performance. We built these capabilities of compiling that into native code that then gets run at the speed of the computer.
Yeah. So let's see what I've achieved so far. I'll go back to my personalized shopping list. You see I have my favorite dog treats. Somebody apparently think I need Slim Shakes. I'm going to ignore that. And I'll go and buy some energy drinks. So you'll see, voila, less than a second. I need that, yes. Less than a second, my recommendations come up. That's pretty good. Yep. But apparently you're not impressed. Okay, let me see if I can do better once I start placing the purchase. That's instant.
Yeah, that's good.
So in just 2 clicks, less than 2 seconds, I have my favorite brand of energy drinks that I go look for in the store and haul to my car on the way to my front door. Now, that's a shopping experience I want to come back to. So with that, I've shown you how our in-memory OLTP is built into SQL Server. And have in mind, there was no new software, all built into SQL Server 2014. There was no hardware changes, no application rewrite. So anyway, you are a hard crowd to impress. So I'll go back to now take a look at how our data warehousing workload also benefits from our in-memory work. So I'll go back to my home page. So the recommendation list is one thing, personalized for me. This is the best-selling list. Here we are looking across all sales. And for this workload, we're actually going back to our data warehouse. Not that our customer care, but you might. So in this instance, we're looking at the data warehouse. And you would expect the test system that I'm using, every time I place a purchase, I simulate 20,000 users. So with 20,000 buckets of energy drinks, which luckily I'm not going to drink all of, you would expect them to show at this bestseller list. It doesn't, because without the memory-optimized data warehouse, the query to generate the list is almost half an hour to run. So I'm only going to run it once a day.
Yeah, a couple times a day at the most.
Down, okay? So now we can just go ahead, and this is where the in-memory column store index come into play. And what is happening now behind the scene, that I'm simply creating a new column store index in my data warehouse. Again, no hardware changes, only adding a new index, which is pretty simple to do. Okay? And what you'll see once, voila, 70 times, more than 70 times performance improvement in adding the column store index. So let's go now and refresh this query, and you should see how my energy drinks make it to the top of the list.
That's great.
So instead of running once a day, there you go. You're well trained over there to the left. So now instead of running this every day, I can start running it every hour, every 5 minutes, and this becomes real time. So with this, you've seen how I have scaled my system to more users. I have provided a more snappy, interactive, personalized shopping experience that's worth coming back to. And I have transformed this once-a-day bestseller list into a near real-time list of what customers are actually buying. So with that, I think my job is done.
Thank you, Julie.
Thanks.
The work we did here for in-memory is derived out of the tight work we do with our customers every day to figure out what's challenging them and where they want to take their business. The scenario that we built here is basically a conglomeration, if you will, of the real scenarios that we encounter with customers on a day-to-day basis and that we help them work through. It's what drives us and propels us forward to build the things that we build. Customers are realizing incredible gains out of this in-memory work from the 2012 release and from the work we did on the BI side and already on the SQL Server 2014 release that's launching today. What's impressive about it is not just the new headroom it gives people or the new performance they can reach, but the kinds of applications and the kinds of solutions they can build by imagining what's possible. With factors that change when you can do transactions in milliseconds and you can have concurrency change by an order of 100-fold, it changes what's possible. And we have customers that are now using and deploying the system in ways that we never even imagined because of how dramatic these changes are. Kevin talked a little bit about NASDAQ, one of our customers who's deeply taking advantage of our in-memory work. And we actually have a video here that goes into that in a little bit more detail. Can we run that, please?
NASDAQ is one of the world's largest exchange companies and one of the largest market technology companies. We operate 26 of our own exchanges in 80 markets throughout the world in 50 different countries on 6 continents. The role of IT is to help our customers have better insight and visibility into the markets. Data is the lifeblood of the company.
NASDAQ presents some interesting challenges. They're an interesting mix of both very fast data and very large data.
This particular system in question handles billions of transactions per day, multiple petabytes of online data, and has single tables with quintillions of records of business transactions. So managing a petabyte of data takes a lot of planning. You can't turn quickly on a dime.
Basically, you run into time constraints. As the database gets to a certain size, you only have a certain amount of hours in the day to process it. Users have to use it, they want their answers.
Within SQL 2014, they have the introduction of the in-memory column store, which allows us to better manage larger pools of data. We've seen, on average, a 50% reduction in the amount of data that is physically stored on disk. And not only does it help us save money, but it helps us more efficiently and effectively deliver data to our consumers.
The migration allowed us to rework some of the queries. Some of the queries would take almost a day or two to run. But once we bring them over to SQL 2014 with the column store indexing on there, now they run in minutes. Our goal is to migrate the data to a platform where it's more accessible to the end user. The faster the answers they get, the more informed business decisions they can make. The value of the data really rests in the imagination of the user querying it.
Left to the imagination of the users who are using the system. It's an incredible sort of thought about the data platform and the role that speed takes as an accelerant for a complete data platform. The cloud is also an incredible part of this as well, and also truly an accelerant. When you look across the range of our solutions, we're helping customers realize a continuum between their on-prem systems or their private cloud and into the public cloud. We don't believe in a world that is all public cloud or all on-prem. We believe that customers and the solutions they're building, the modern applications they have, are actually spanning that continuum in unique ways. BI is an example of this. A lot of the work we do in BI anchors in Excel. The Power Pivot work lets you manipulate the millions of records, the Power View to visualize and Power Map. It starts there. But it also allows customers to take advantage of the cloud through Office 365. Office 365's Power BI work has BI sites for producing shared views on important charts and visualizations in BI, as well as important questions you might want to start asking of the system. So this continuum also anchors down to the data and the analytics itself. The data that you use for building Power BI solutions can come from on-premise, and we'll help manage that connectivity and keep that data refreshed and in motion. The data that you're using in Excel can be discovered through Power Query from all sorts of different sources, whether it's social data coming from social feeds, or whether it's on-prem traditional database systems or line of business applications, or whether it's data that's coming or born in the cloud. You can bring these things together through Power Query into Excel to do the kinds of analytics and visualizations across data to gain those insights, a critical part of that data culture. SQL Server 2014 was in fact born in the cloud, which may sound like a strange thing to say about a product that's been in the market now for quite a while. What's unique about the development cycle of SQL Server 2014 was that we actually built it as part of Azure DB, our relational database service that runs as a PaaS service in Azure from its inception. Kevin mentioned that we're scaled now to, we have a million databases that are running in Azure SQL database. A million databases. That code that runs those million databases is what we just shipped in SQL 2014, which means we've had however many hours that adds up to over the development cycle, times a million databases of hardening and improving as we developed the product. It's an incredible advantage for us in terms of agility and what we can then in turn bring to our customers. We've never been able to release a release quite as dramatic as SQL 2014 in such a short period of time. And it's in part because it's born in the cloud. But importantly for customers, SQL 2014 was also designed to enable some key hybrid scenarios. Customers are able to take any application and make it into a real mission-critical application with the kinds of high availability and disaster recovery you might expect out of the most mission-critical applications that are built because of how we've integrated always on our availability management directly into Azure. I actually had a customer stop me at a conference and thank me for the work we're doing here with always on and the integration with Azure. And I was asking why, and the answer was because he doesn't have to go to Europe and figure out how he's going to have another data center. He's just able to use our data center. He's able to have Azure become part of his data center architecture. And the work we're doing to ensure that continuum is obviously a big part of that. And that extends from the data, it also extends to analytics. The work that we have in SQL Server and analysis services is what's running in Azure that backs Power BI. So again, we have that continuum of meeting you where that data is, meeting you where the users are, and ensuring that the cloud is just a part of your platform. Of course, talking about the cloud would not be complete without Azure itself, right? And whether it's the table store or Azure or core storage or the database service we have running, or the work we're doing to power Power BI through Azure, or even the work in the analytics space with HD Insight, the cloud is opening up new scenarios that customers are taking advantage of because they have access to what any given customer can perceive as basically an infinite store with infinite processing capability at their fingertips. They're not in the business of trying to figure out how they're going to deploy another so many servers, another so many systems. They simply have access to it right at their fingertips, right through the Azure portal. Satya this morning announced the analytics platform system, which is our big data in a box solution. It too is an example of how we've taken advantage of that Azure scale and system in order to extend what's possible for customers. Using APS, customers are able to cleave off parts of their data warehouse. Say, talk about partitions across time that are no longer hot for the business, and move them and export them into Azure, where you can do further processing on them with HD Insight. This is built into how the product works, and it's a turnkey scenario that we're enabling because we know that customers are struggling with how do I take data that's cooling and still provide analytics capability over that, and how does the cloud play a role in this? So that continuum of hybrid then really spans deep into the solutions and the products that we're offering. To show a little bit about APS and our data warehousing work and what that means to a persona of a retail manager over at Fabricam, I'd like to bring Aaron back up on stage.
Thanks, Quentin. It's great to be here. Okay, so one of the things, I'm going to play the role for the next couple of demos as the West Coast Regional Manager for Fabricam. And again, Fabricam is a retailer and we sell lots of different goods and services. And because we fully embraced the data platform, we've got really data culture built in. And APS is one of the new products we've deployed. And what it allows me to do is look at large amounts of historical data to see if I can find trends that might be interesting, so I can better tailor what promotions I might do in the store, those kinds of things. So right here you can see my dashboard that I'm able to use to do some of this analysis. And if I click on something like electronics, I can see the sales trends for 2013. Of course, I sell a lot of electronics at the end of the year.
Yep.
But I can also see 10 years of data right here on this same chart, 50 billion rows, and I can see the trends there. So it's very, very cool.
So this is a mix of your sales management system and the data warehouse all in one view put together.
Exactly, exactly. And so I can look at the beverage category. And since we're here in April, I want to see if there's anything I should be doing in April around beverages. Now, I notice there's a little blip there in April for 2013. but I can certainly see that there's a trend here over the last 10 years. There has been some sort of increase in sales in beverages in April. So let's drill down a little bit deeper. Now I want to go ahead and look at sales per day. I've got beverages. Let me go ahead and slice that by April and just see if there's any kind of trends here in April that I might want to look at. So if I look at soft drinks, again, looking at 10 years of data, nothing really jumps out.
So Power View by nature allows you to have the different charts interact with each other. So even though they're coming from different data sources, you're still able to filter and query and visualize across them.
Yeah, so let me go check up beer now. Ooh, that's interesting.
There's a bump there.
There is a bump there on the 15th. Well,
That's
what's
because
today?
it's today.
Oh, April 15th.
That's tax day.
Tax day.
But don't worry,
Okay.
this gets entertaining. Just hang on.
I get it. Okay, so either our customers are drowning their sorrows because they're having to put a big return in, or they're celebrating a great return from the government.
Or they're celebrating just being done.
That's true. Probably celebrating being done.
Maybe
Okay.
it's all the accountants who are done.
That's right. Could be. Okay, so I got a trend here. 10 years of data. I see that there's something happening on the 15th around beer. But before I take action, I just want to validate that. So I've got one more report here that takes advantage of that technology, Polybase, which allows me to query both structured data in my data warehouse, my sales, and unstructured data, my web traffic and web click analysis. Again, I can see on electronics, if I look down here on the bottom chart, the number of searches that happen towards the end of the year is much higher, and it kind of correlates with sales. But let me go ahead and take a look at beverages. And if I drill down into beer, I can see a similar trend. You see a spike in February around the Super Bowl. That's always a great time for beer sales. And then I also see in April, there's a lot of people kind of clicking around trying to see what the latest beers are, and I also see large purchases. So based on this, I'm going to go ahead and make a change in my store. I'm going to make sure that we promote beer here on tax day. So as people come in after doing their taxes, there's going to be plenty of ice cold beer ready for them. Beer
So
and chips on tax day.
Yeah, so we should be able to see how it's going, right? I mean, it is after all April 15th today. So how's it going?
Okay, well, let's take a look. So where I want to shift now to is my operational report. And because of that updatable column store, I'm able to see on my mobile application kind of a real-time report here. And what's nice about being on the West Coast is I have sales on the East Coast that I can see. So it's kind of like seeing into the future when you look on the East Coast.
So here, our sales manager is now on the go, right? They're busy. They're going from store to store. They're managing things. They're on the go. They're using now the Power BI application for Windows 8 that's hooked into their operational system to see what's going on that day and
Right.
stay in touch.
Right, so I can see where we are today. I can see that overall on that top chart there, my beverages category, I'm ahead of plan, so that's good. If I drill down and say soft drinks, I see that soft drinks right there is pretty consistent with my forecast. But if I go to beer, oh, I didn't expect that. I thought that beer would have been higher based on my
Looks like you have a
historical
problem
analysis.
with beer, yeah.
Well, let me say the champagne category. Oh, there we go. Okay, champagne is over. So I guess this year people are getting better tax returns than in years past, so they're buying champagne instead of beer. So it's champagne and caviar for everyone a little bit later today in celebration of tax day. So very, very cool way. And you know what? Because my profit per square foot for champagne there in that top corner is so much higher than beer, I'm going to actually go and talk to the West Coast store managers and ask them to redirect some inventory, put it in our promotional areas, because now I can see, by looking into the future of the East Coast and seeing this report in real time, I know that I can take advantage of this insight. So I got to run. I got to see
You
it.
better run, Aaron. Thank you. What we touch on here is reach, right? The data does no good unless you have the data culture to back it up, and unless you have the tools and the accessibility of the information that matter at the time that you need it, and to the audience and the people that need access to that information. And this notion of reach actually spans this entire cycle of the data platform as well. IT professionals need tools they're already familiar with, and with features that they already know how to use, that let them meet the needs of the speed of the business, grow the platform, grow the capabilities, grow the data. And by the work we've done in the Azure portal, by the work we've done to make adopting things like a column restore, a piece of configuration work, we're actually empowering those IT professionals to do more for their business, focus more on helping that business accelerate and get to those data dividends. It's also true for developers. Developers on SQL Server is the most widely deployed database. There's many, many, many of them that know how to use SQL. By doing things like Polybase, we're enabling a whole new generation of data to be embraced by the same class of developer. By making sure that we have services like Azure SQL Database that have that same familiar vernacular, they're able to take advantage of the cloud and the cloud scale and the cloud global deployment. without having to learn new skills in terms of how to develop for a database. By ensuring that we have infrastructure as a service running in Azure, we're able to allow developers to stand up solutions, taking advantage of what they already know, and starting to take advantage of new PaaS capabilities that are also offered in Azure. And analytics developers also enjoy the same continuum, if you will, so that they are able to take advantage of the skills that they have to develop analytics solutions, and deploy them on-premise, and deploy them in the cloud without having to learn the new skills. So that reach and finding their way to with the familiar tools and the skills that people already have is really important also for developers. Of course, people is the main thing that have to be empowered with information, the main audience that has to be empowered with information in order to realize data dividend. It all starts with an insight. We've been through many customer meetings where we've even using their data sets, shown them the power of some of the visualization and tools like Q&A, and they've even discovered insights during a customer briefing while it's happened, and it started to take action on it even within that day. So the power of putting the tools and putting the BI capabilities into Excel, taking that work and making it accessible through the cloud is dramatically increasing the reach of who's capable of using BI to have great BI tools and features. But what's actually really important is what we're doing with Q&A. Think about what Q&A does. It allows anybody who is able to ask a question, who has curiosity, to be able to get structured data and derive insights from structured data by merely asking the questions, and then asking the next question, and then asking the next question. So we're not leaving BI only to those who are capable of understanding things like a database or a data warehouse or an analytics system schema, and then how you might want to chart that and what a bubble, chart, scatter, or whatever is. We're allowing anybody who's capable of asking a question to get at these insights. It's super key. We're expanding the audience of who's going to be empowered in this data culture by building the technologies for Q&A, which enables natural language querying of structured information. So to show that and finish our demo arc, I'd like to invite Aaron back up.
All right.
One last time, I promise.
It's been a busy day for me.
It has.
Okay, so now we just sold a ton of champagne, and there's actually going to be some later today after this event, so look forward to that. But now I want to shift gears a little bit, because as you talked about, BI is important, and being able to go from something like an operational dashboard where I can see what's happening in real time, but I don't always have the insight in that dashboard to know what's going on. And so I actually want to start and take a look again at our operational dashboard. So it's right here on my tablet, and I want to be able to drill right into different sales categories to see how I'm doing during the day. So I can look at fresh fruit here as an example. I can see sales look pretty good consistently over the last couple of weeks. I can go ahead and check out fruit snacks. Looks like there's a trend down there on that overall table. And if I look down here at the bottom, I can see that one of my fruit snacks, the Contoso fruit bar, has come down quite dramatically. And that's true
Maybe someone actually read the name Contoso fruit bar.
Yeah, it does sound like a floor wax, doesn't it?
It does a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so I see in California we're down. I see in Oregon we're down. Ooh, in Washington we're down. Okay, so we're down across the board on the Contoso fruit snack, and I want to learn a little bit more about why that might be happening. So I have to move away from my operational dashboard, because that gives me good kind of real-time insights, but to do real analysis, I've got to crack open the BI tools. And so let's start with Power Query. And Quentin, you talked a little bit about this in your session. What's really cool about Power Query is it allows me to go find data that's interesting using online search. So right from Excel, I can look for something like Fabricam data. And what I want to go find is the national sales reports around fruit snacks, because I have the Western report, but I need to look at the national one.
Looks like we also found something that talks about being a fictitious company.
Yes. Well, one of the things that's cool about the online search is it searches both internal data, which is represented by those blue stars, as well as external data like Wikipedia. And it does look, in fact, that Fabricam is a fictional Microsoft company, so maybe this demo is all fake, and we should just move on.
No, I think we should keep going.
Okay, we'll keep going. Okay.
So following the thread from a user trying to gain insight and do the analytics on it, they have to have access to the data. The work we've done for the catalog and Power Query is to allow users to have access to the world's information. We actually have a team that curates information from important government sources and other places so that they can be turnkey brought into models in Excel and brought into the BI tooling there. We also have work that we're doing to bring on commercial data partners that are registering interesting data sets that are commercially interesting that can also be accessed through Power Query and brought right into the models right by an end user. And finally, every Power BI customer that's using Office 365 gets a corporate catalog. So as users find their way to interesting information sets, or they set up interesting data sets that other people may want to access, they can register them into that catalog, and then they're discoverable by folks like Aaron by just typing in keywords.
Right, and so this is a great example of this. Here's the national sales report of April for fruit snacks, and it's created by the Money Man, which is our finance guy.
That's his name?
That's his name.
It's a really convenient name.
He is the Money Man. And so I can go ahead and I can add that to the worksheet. So I'm going out, I'm grabbing that report that he published, and I'm now making available. So now I can see I've got sales data for Georgia, Florida, New York. So I'm getting sales data that's outside of my region, which is very helpful. But I'm also curious about sentiment around the Contoso fruit bars. Like, is there something going on in the social sphere? And again, I can go to Power Query to see if there's something interesting there for me. So if I go ahead and I can do a search, I look on, if I go over here, let me just create this. I can go to Contoso. Wait, there we go. Contoso sweet. Well, maybe not. So we'll just switch over here, and there's Contoso. And I can do a search on Contoso and see if in fact, there's some data there around social sentiment. And as you can see, it's right there. So Contoso tweets for sentiment. This is produced by the data scientist dude. And so the data scientist dude is someone from Fabricam that does this data scientist work. And so I can go ahead and do an edit here, and let me merge these two data sets. I can see when I pull up that, I get a preview of it. I can see the tweet message. I can see some hashtags. And let me go ahead and merge these queries then.
So these tools are allowing this user to bring in combined data sets and even refine them. So there's an inline ETL process, if you will, as he's bringing that data in.
Right. So now I'm basically combining my sales data and my sentiment data, and I can do it in a combined data set and analyze it. Now, I've already done that and pulled it in. It takes a few minutes to pull it together. So I'm not going to go through that process here. But what I do want to do is now visualize that combined data set. So let me go ahead and launch Power Map again. And here I'm able to start to see in a rich visualization what's happening with my sales. So let me take a look at items sold and my sales date. I can see that on the map. And let me add a second layer that brings in that sentiment information. Okay, so I'm going to scroll down here to my Twitter sentiment. I see my, actually before I do that, I'm going to take latitude and longitude for those tweets. I want to map that out. I want to look at my sentiment index, which is a factor that my data scientist is providing me. I'm going to look at that as a heat map and then also look at this as a tweet date. And just make a few adjustments here so that I know that the visualization will come clean. I'm pretty familiar with how this tool works, and it's helpful for me. All right, so now I've got my data set on my different layers. Let me go ahead and look and see, as I play this, what are the trends with both sales and sentiment. All right, so I can see sales across the US is pretty strong. Sentiment went very negative. Sales went very negative. So I think the sales data from my operational report are validated now by this BI analysis that shows that sentiment is down around the Contoso fruit bars.
Now we got to figure out why.
Now we got to figure out why. So here's where we can come over to Q&A. And in Q&A, I can start interrogating this data even further by simply asking a question and getting an answer.
And again, because the data scientist had taken the time for all of Fabricam to develop sentiment data products, if you will, that are in the catalog and a model for that, those now show up in the Q&A experience that's accessible by folks like the role that Aaron's playing.
Got it. So by asking the question, I can see that tweets by date and sentiment show me that there was a pretty large spike in negative tweets there somewhere in March around this product. So let me just confirm. If I look at it by state, and I just change my query, and I can see, yep, there in fact, here on the West Coast, there's a lot of negative tweets around the product, but on the rest of the country, people are sort of indifferent. So let me drill into the hashtags. So let me just see if there's any particular hashtags in sentiment that pop out. Now that's interesting. There's a lot of negative sentiment around GMO and organic foods with these products. So maybe I should drill into that a little bit more, and look at this, say, versus change in sales by location and sentiment, and see if there's something that comes up there. Now I get a nice scatter plot, and I can see that below the line is negative sales. To the right there is lots of negative tweets, and I can see again here on the West Coast, we're seeing real challenges with both sales and negative sentiment. And since we're here in San Francisco, let me see, I want to drill into the individual tweets and see what people are saying.
What's important is that along the way, Power Q&A. Q&A has been deciding what kinds of visuals might make sense to help the user understand the answer to their question. So he's not specifying what kind of chart type. The system's actually figuring out how we might be able to visualize that data best.
So now when I look at tweet text for GMO in San Francisco, I can actually read the individual tweets. And I can see that this is, in fact, around the Contoso fruit bar. It's got GMO ingredients, and people are really concerned about that. You know, it's not just that it sounds like a floor wax in its name. It really is a problem. And so think about this. I went from an operational report. In a couple minutes, I was looking down at individual tweets about these products. Well, I need to take some action. It's pretty clear from this that I need to remove the Contoso fruit bars from my shelves and switch to a different product. So I got to run and take care of that, Quentin.
Thanks so much, Aaron. Nice job today. Our Fabricam example is one of embracing that data culture. And we showed a couple of vignettes where the dividend is clearly there. Right? The action that can be taken by having access to the data and the tools that help those users understand and enable the systems is really powerful. And it's there because of the year or two we've had in fantastic innovation around the data platform. It's why we've taken the moment today to talk about it. Power BI for Office 365, it expands the accessibility and the reach of having access to those insights to basically everybody that can ask a question. SQL Server 2014 completes this journey to bring in-memory to all workloads of the data platform, which is really a first in the industry. And Microsoft Azure, whether it's the service we introduced for Hadoop with HD Insight, or whether it's the scale and the reach of systems like SQL Azure Database, or Azure Storage and Tables, we're empowering a whole new generation, a whole new class of applications to be built. But of course, there's more coming. Satya mentioned work we're doing in machine learning, and I thought I'd provide just a touch of context on that. You can imagine at Microsoft what it takes to run offers like Bing and Ad Center and even Xbox Live. We actually have a deeply mature machine learning practice within the company. And we've had to take it out of this very specialized vertical expertise and make it into just engineering. Now we're taking that learning of making machine learning into an engineering practice, and we're going to find a way to make it part of our Azure offerings. Stay tuned on that. The other announcement we made this morning was for the Azure Intelligent System Service. This is an Internet of Things solution that marries into the data platform to provide a complete system for allowing customers to embrace the IoT phenomena. It all starts with the myriad data that IoT solutions are starting to create in the world. Whether it's machines or sensors or business process, there's an incredible variety of information that's being generated, and the ISS platform is allowing us to manage those devices, whether they're Windows or other devices, and provide the accessibility of the data to come in and be managed by the platform. As that data comes in, then it participates in the complete data platform. It is data that now feeds into that virtuous cycle of data through analytics and through empowering people to understand what that data means and what it's useful for. So with that, I'd like to thank you for being here this morning and spending the day with us today talking about data and being part of the journey with us. It's really been an incredible morning of watching how the products are unfolding and learning with customers about the kinds of things they're now achieving by embracing this moving forward platform that's all about that ambient intelligence. As I leave, we're going to roll a video to talk about some of the innovations that are being created with an early adopter of our ISS solution, the London Underground. So with that, thank you very much.
Carrying more than 1 billion passengers every year, the iconic London Underground is the world's first underground railway. I'm Steve Pears, Managing Director at Telent Technology. We wanted to help rail organisations like London Underground modernise the systems that monitor its critical assets. Everything from escalators and lifts and HVAC control systems to CCTV and communication networks. We teamed up with CGI and Microsoft. This collaboration includes taking advantage of the Microsoft Azure Intelligent System Service. Meaningful data from sensors and intelligent edge devices on everything from temperature, vibration and humidity to fault warnings and system alerts are available securely in the cloud. Many manual monitoring processes can now be streamlined. Disconnected systems can be securely integrated and automated. Most importantly, equipment degradation can be spotted in real time based on live data. And with new insights from data, London Underground can measure asset performance over time. When one system can connect thousands of devices and data streams across a rail network serving millions of people, that's the Internet of Things, and it's here right now. That's why we chose Microsoft.